Welcome to this week's Chit Chat. This week's Chit Chat is brought to you by movie theaters, where popcorn costs more than kidneys, and digital movies are more hated here than they are by cable television.
Look! It's Candlejack! Candlejack!
I'm gonna need more rope.
Stop it. Get some help.
It's your boy, Trae Price. It's another episode of Chit Chat. We're here with another week. We got a good show for you, and joining me is once again from the first episode. You know him, you love him, my man's Kyle Cornier. So I'll say what's up to the people.
What's up, everybody? It's good to be back on this show with a horrible name, but we're here and we're bringing you beautiful content.
I would like to point out that Hannah said it wasn't horrible, that it just wasn't what she imagined when she saw the title.
All I'm saying is Trae and I, going back through the ages, we have named everything on Timewasterz. And if you go through and you look at all the names, you can see who named what. That's all I'm saying. I'm not digging into it. That's all I'm saying.
You know what? I'm gonna leave it alone because the people, well, while you can't really look at it, you know, I need what I need to do, and I'm gonna say it on air so that way I have to do it at some point. Is I need to do some TBTs, you know, turn back times and release some old episodes so that these people can see the immaculate titles that Trae have put out, and you know, the whatever titles that Kyle put out. So
That's just not true. But that's fine. It's unimportant. It doesn't matter. That's not why we're here today.
That
we're
isn't
here to
why
talk
we're here
about
today.
new stuff, not old stuff. It is what it is. Trace gets in his head. But that's fine. That's fine. We're moving on. It's gonna be great. Thank you for listening. Thanks for being here. Love the show. Love y'all. So let's get it going, Trey.
that sounded more like a goodbye than a hello. Like, all right, and then goodbye.
It's a palate cleanser. It's a palate cleanser.
Okay,
you know?
fair enough. Well, what we do have to talk to you about today, my lips. What we do have to talk to you about today is, I think the first thing that I want to go through, and it's going to be a lot of me explaining while college is like, but I want to talk to you about the Transformers, because I think right now it's in a real confusing spot. Like, not just from the movies and the television, but from the comic book standpoint too. It's all confusing. So before we go in it, I want to ask you, Kyle, like, how much of a fan are you of Transformers?
Transformers, like, growing up, watched the cartoons. I've seen, I don't know how many movies there are now. I've seen 4 of them. I think the last one I watched was the first Wahlberg one. So I haven't seen Last Night. I haven't seen Bumblebee. No desire to see either. I guess I'm burnt out, but burnt out's not necessarily the right word. So I don't know how I'm kind of lukewarm towards the entire franchise at this point. I feel like at one point in time it was oversaturated. We got a movie every couple years. They ended up being the same thing. They were cinematic spectacles. Like, don't get me wrong, watching those giant Transformers transform in that beautiful crystal clear fidelity is amazing. But I can only see it so many times before I'm just like, you know, I'm kind of done with this.
So if you think you were saturated, if you think the franchise was saturated, then Kyle, wait till we go through this. So I'm gonna start off with the movie, since that's the one you're most familiar with. Like I said, we're just coming off of Bumblebee, which in my opinion, I have seen this, and it's actually probably the first good Transformers movie in a while, especially coming off of that trash that was Last Night. Like, that was a film that took every continuity that was in place and just said, fuck it, we throwing it in the trash bin, and then we're just making our own stuff. Like, Hot Rod was Italian and hit on a woman for like half of the film. Is that the Transformers that you want? I don't think so. Right.
So there's a reason I did not see that movie, and you're just making that crystal clear.
You made a great decision. But so with the film series, and Hasbro having, I think, Hasbro had it from the beginning. That's a Power Ranger story. But with this new Bumblebee, it's kind of like what Kyle did earlier. It's a palate cleanser, where this could be like potential for a Bumblebee, like a whole Transformers reboot. Like, if they jumped off from this point, this is a good thing, right? So other movies that are coming out, there is a Transformers prequel movie coming out now, but this one is animated, right? So we don't know what the connection between this and the Bayverse is going to be, or this new Bumblebee, you know, jump off that we're going to be. Okay, so that's the first confusion that we have there. All right, what movie series am I watching? You know, it's almost like Sony and Spider-Man and Marvel and Spider-Man, you know, where it's like, what's actually going on here? Okay, so then we move on to the television, what's going on right now. because we're coming off of some good series, Transformers Prime, Robots in Disguise, this whole Prime series, right? Then we go into Cyberverse, which is this new cartoon series for the kids where Bumblebee is the lead star, because now Bumblebee is just like the spokesperson of Transformers, right? He's your tentpole character, right? But they're also coming out with a new Netflix series, right? Which is another prequel series taking place on Cybertron, which is like its War for Cybertron trilogy. So we have these two series coming out. Then we have the prequel movie coming out, which I'm pretty sure isn't the same thing as the Netflix series, but they're all prequels, own universe thing. You having a bit more confusion, right? Then we have the comics. So IDW has been, for the longest time doing Transformers franchises, taking a lot of Hasbro's properties and making them into like a shared universe type of deal. Giving them their own stories, more darker, more adult, things of that nature. But now in 2019, they're doing another relaunch with, wait for it now, another Cybertronian prequel where we're starting from the beginning before the Transformers come to Earth, and then doing, the whole story all over again. So it's one big confusing ball of 17 prequels, and then whatever's going on with the movies. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I think what we're seeing is it's a shame Transformers being an old franchise, but they got popular again 10 years ago or so. And at this point, they're trying to keep that popularity going. They spread themselves too thin through medium. I mean, you got 2 different movie arcs, TV shows, comic books, and now Netflix. You can't have your fans look at that and be like, well, this is canon, this isn't canon. Like, it's all canon. It's just in a different place. And if you really love Transformers, well, this is the second golden age of Transformers for you. Mm-hmm. But for the regular fan or someone who enjoyed the Bay movies, example me, I'm not keeping up with all this content to know what's going on with Transformers, especially when they're telling the same story in 3 different places.
Right.
Even if there are slight differences, it doesn't matter. You spread yourself too thin at this point. And I just don't see it really having the end game that they think it's going to have. I don't think it's going to bring their popularity back up to where it was when the Bay movies first came out. I don't think it's going to save the franchise. I think, if anything, it's going to hurt the franchise because there's going to be so much out there. People don't know what it is. People don't know. Your regular fan isn't going to know what to do with all of this.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
That is what it is. It's a mess. It's a complete and total mess. I didn't know that much was going on. Mm-hmm. When you put Transformers in the content in like our little show sheet, I was like, oh, all right. So we're just going to talk about the movies and how they suck. No, I didn't realize this was the train we were going off on, that they're just everywhere. That's ridiculous.
I wanted that surprise from you because, this is ridiculous. Like, you have so much content. And again, I bring it back to, Sony and Marvel with what they're going on with Spider-Man right now. Because you're just coming off of Venom, and people wonder, where Spider-Man is with that. And Venom is such an integral character, or Spider-Man is such an integral character in Venom's story. Then you have this Morbius movie coming out, which is another character from Spider-Man canon, But then you're keeping on, and there's still rumors that, Spider-Man may show up in this Spider-Man-less universe, right? Then you have the Marvel movies coming out where there's Spider-Man stuff. And then they're keeping on with the animated universe with Into the Spider-Verse and the sequels. Following with that, there's going to be a Gwen movie. I don't know what's going on with these companies and their ideology. Oh, there's something else I didn't mention. That, speaking of shared universes, this Transformers is possibly going to be a shared cinematic universe with the other Hasbro thing. So we're talking G.I. Joe. We're talking Rom the Space Knight. We're talking Mask. We're talking Visionaries. I think like all of these obscure like cartoons that you may not have heard of from like the 80s or toys from the 70s are coming together in this like film cinematic universe. And I think that's another thing where people are going so much into wanting to make a cinematic universe that, like you said, it's saturated and they don't understand that.
Stay with me here because this is going to be kind of a long run thought.
Let's go.
But Marvel, bless them, they have created while simultaneously destroyed the thought of a cinematic universe. They have created this amazing thing that it took them 10 years to culminate, and it's not even done yet. We still got 2 more movies coming out this year that lead directly into the story arc that they've created over the last 10, 11 years. While doing that, the movie industry is full of copycats. That's how it works.
True.
So other studios are seeing this incredible rise, and they want in. And of course you want in. They're making billions of dollars per movie. That was never done before on a regular basis, making $1 billion of film. People don't realize that. All these DC, all these other ones are seeing the popularity of comic books. DC gets a little bit of a break because they're another huge comic house. It makes a little bit of sense for them to lean on the properties they have. But you're seeing Hasbro, you're seeing the Monsters universe, like Dark Monsters or whatever that was. They're all trying to make this cinematic universe so people will go and see multiple films instead of just seeing the one-off film.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is the cinematic universe can only be made one way, and that's the way Marvel made it. No one else is willing to spend the time because they're so late to the game. So what's going to happen is these studios are going to try to create these cinematic universes while at the same time shooting themselves in the foot because they're not doing it correctly. These movies are going to flop, and that's going to boil up, and I think you're going to see Marvel actually get some of that in the end. I'm not saying this year, I'm not saying next year, I'm saying in the next 5 years. I think this whole thought of the cinematic universe thing, people are going to be done with it.
That's an interesting thought, and I think you already hear about people talking about how soon with the comic book, they're talking about comic book movie saturation, where they feel that Marvel's going to feel it even sooner than that. Probably in the next 3 years that we're going to see a drop off in their returns. But I think what'll help them is the same thing that helped Infinity War be seen as such a great film, is that we have good storytelling. So hopefully that will say, because that movie is like a cinematic gold, where it's actually filmmakers making a film rather than, just a blockbuster spectacle. But it's interesting that you mentioned one universe. I just wanted to go off on a side tangent, that dark universe. that piece of a shitstorm that they've tried to reboot twice. If you didn't know, they tried to make it twice with Dracula Untold, which was going to be
which was a great movie.
Really? Did you like it?
I actually really like Dracula.
Well, that was their first try into doing a dark cinematic universe, and then that did not do well. So then they tried again with The Mummy. So here's the funny thing with The Mummy and the whole, like, them making that trailer where you got the Universal title, but it's like, oh, it's Dark Universe. They had this whole photo shoot, and I love this. They had that photo shoot where they showed all of, we got Tom Cruise, we got Javier Bardem, Sofia Boutella, and they're all just posing in there like, oh, we're in the Dark Universe. That was Photoshop. Nobody was there. Nobody was in the same room. You can't even
Their first mistake was trying to make a mummy movie after there were 2.5 great mummy movies already made with Brendan Fraser, and they tried to make it without my boy Brendan. Now I know he's gone through a lot of personal stuff, and the movie industry has not treated him well. But you should have just let it lie. What are we doing making this new crap mummy movie? There's already great mummy movies. You want to go watch a mummy movie? I could recommend them to you. Like, what were they thinking?
I love
What room was sitting there and be like, I got it, the next big thing? No one thought that. No fan was like, yeah, no, this is what I want. This is what I needed. I didn't know it, but this is what I want. No.
I love you, man. They lost you from the beginning. It was like, no Brendan Fraser, I'm out.
I'm dead serious. I didn't watch that movie. I did not watch The Mummy because I watched The Mummy. I didn't watch that Mummy, but I watched The Mummy. I was like, oh, mummy movie? I'll watch some mummy movies. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're great.
So, update on the Dark Universe, though. While I don't know if it's completely squashed, they are trying to still make Universal monster films. The next one being The Invisible Man by Blumhouse Studios. And if you don't know who Blumhouse Studios is, it's pretty much the makers of Paranormal Activity and any other movie that you can make under $5. And pretty much that's why they gave it to Jason Blum. It's like, hey, look, we spent $1 million and 2 Photoshop artists to make this Dark Universe thing work. $5. Blumhouse, make us some Invisible Man movie. So that's, again, movie industry. You're in shambles. But so let's move on to our next topic. Let's talk about that Anthem. Ooh.
Have you played it? You didn't pick it up, right? I
I
don't think
did
any
not.
of us picked it up.
I did
Okay,
not. I was
that's for the
thinking about
better.
it very hard. I actually played a little
As
bit of
was
the
I.
demo. Since I still have EA access, I still get to play it. Well, I got to play it because I played it 10 hours of Anthem. And this game is divisive, Kyle. I don't know if you've been hearing like all the stuff, but it's real divisive. Tell us your thoughts
It's
on it.
interesting. It's really interesting. I feel bad for them. BioWare has such a beautiful history, and they've had some flops. Every developer has some flops. It happens. But this game, before it even released, was facing so much criticism that if they didn't release a perfect gem, it wasn't going to be a success in the eyes of the BioWare fans. Now, from what I've seen, I got to play a little bit in the beta, but that's all I've really got to play. The game itself, the mechanics are fine. The game's fun. It's missing a couple things in early release, like enemy variety, things of that nature. But the gameplay loop in of itself, it's a looty shooty. Looty shooties are in now. It's a fun game. The story is okay from what I've seen. It's a good game, but because of the criticism faced by it, it's not great. And then you look at EA with their microtransaction stuff on the back end, which aren't even that bad. But the fact that they're there is not good. People are not happy about it. EA in itself has become the bad guy of the video game industry. And it's a cool concept. It's a fun game, but that's where it's at. You know, it's not great.
And that's kind of where I am on it. And it's a game where, in playing like at least 2 hours of it, because I played a little bit and I was like, oh, I got to do this show at like noon. I need to go to sleep. It's like 4 a.m. I need to get some sleep, chill out, right? But playing it a little bit, I actually found myself like, this is a really dope story that's going on so far. I haven't, of course, played to the end game, but right now it's pretty good. So I've been around and I've looked at, some of the reviews. I tried to look at some of the people's videos and see, what's the thoughts out there. And people mostly think that the story's good. The voice acting and the character mocap is on point, which I agree with. And the mechanics, like the flying feels good. The shooting feels nice. Again, these are things I also agree with. Some of the things I do have a problem with in a game that, really wants you to be about flying around, the overheat mechanic seems to be a misfire to me, especially because they have a thing with the mechanic that if you dive down, it'll cool your engines, or what I'm just going to say, it cools your engines and allows you to stay flying for longer. But if you jump off at a midpoint, let's say, and you have to go, you're already overheating. Like the meter shoots up so fast that you have to, dive down, but you're on the ground. So you immediately you fall. You're just on the ground. You just stop flying, so you didn't got to jump up and you're just on this repetitive sort of curve. So that part I did not like. And some of the bad things has been like the end game. A lot like with Destiny 1, where it felt like, and now this is the prequel to the story you actually want to see. People are feeling like that this is like the start, this is like a part 0 to a part 1 of the story that you actually want to see. The load times, which may have been fixed in the day 1 patch. Some of these things have been fixed that we talk about today. With the day 1 patch, like we said, we haven't actually played the full version of the game, so we don't really know a lot. There's just 2 guys talking about the game. So, but the load times were killer. Like going back to the Fort Tarsis, equipping your thing. Like this is one that I got from a review. Is like going back to Fort Tarsis, equipping you get a load time. Equipping your stuff, you get a load time. You go back into the game, there's a load time. Then you don't like what you've equipped, so you want to go back. So there's this like loop of load times, and by that time you're bored already, right? And then like you were talking about the loot system, so all of these things have it's just morphed it together to be not great. Like not a game, not the gangbusters game that I guess BioWare wanted, especially since this was their 18.
Yeah.
But
see, that's what's on. So you can still see the heart of BioWare in this game. The story's good. Sadly, there's not a lot of RPG elements in the sense of make a choice, change the story. There's a little bit of that, but not nearly as much as you would see in like Mass Effect or Dragon Age. But you can see the stories there when the A team's working and they're able to build things. The voice acting's there, the facial animations are there. And it really sucks because if they had this team working on Andromeda, Andromeda wouldn't have flopped. Anthem wouldn't have come out this year, probably would have come out on next gen.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, Anthem would have been received with a much warmer reception.
Right.
So if they had their A team working on Mass Effect, then switching over to Anthem, you would have had, for one, the Mass Effect universe wouldn't be on ice, and two, Anthem probably would have been received much better. So it's kind of a shame that EA has throttled this developer to the sense that they have. It's kind of, it leads to the view that EA is not great.
Yeah. You want to know the interesting thing that I found out through my research? I was reading, I think I was reading either an IO9 article or I was reading a Kotaku review, and I went down into the comments, and there's talk of people who kind of view this game as the same as when either Destiny or Destiny 2 come out, where everybody else is kind of, giving this game a bad rap, but they're like, we're part of an exclusive community who have grown with the game, or in the case of Anthem, will grow with the game, and kind of say that is a positive for that. So like with Destiny, where it was kind of bad, repetitive at the start, but kind of got fixed with those DLC, they're feeling the same here. It's like, well, we've waited to see, we've struggled with the game, and now we're this little niche community, which is kind of something I really wish Chris was here to talk about, because he is in it. He is with that group, and we're not. Because
and it's good and bad that these games as a service kind of situation is picking up. It's awesome that developers are now sitting there taking community feedback and fixing their games. At the same time, it sucks that they're releasing unfinished games and then fixing them through DLC. Now, certain games are better than that. They're not releasing fixes through DLC. They're releasing them through free content patches, which is fine. But at the same time, release a full game and then add on to it.
Yes.
Release a game without thinking about that game's sequel. Release one complete story, let people play it, let them enjoy it, and then if it does what it needs to do, make a sequel. It's the same thing with movies. Don't make a movie planning to make a second movie. Tell a story, then do the next one.
I'm laughing because I'm so glad you brought up the movie thing, because, I guess this is going to be a show about confusion, but did you see the live action trailer made by Neil Blomkamp, who, if you don't know, people made District 9 and movies of that nature, made sort of a live action trailer for, I don't even know what. I don't know if it's going to be like a film that he's going to make in the Anthem universe, or if it was just like a promotional material for the game. But it's this trailer that looks real cool, but I have no idea what it's actually for.
Yeah.
You saw that?
It's just people doing stuff. Yeah, it's just people doing stuff.
That's upsetting. That's upsetting, because I would like to see, because playing a little bit of this game and seeing some of the cinematic cutscenes, I was like, yeah, this could lend itself to a film. I could actually watch this. Now, that's my preconceived notions of loving, mechs and mech suits and robots. But, I don't know, man. I feel disappointed. Now I feel double disappointed now. Just people doing things. That makes me sad.
I mean, that's what it is. It's people doing things. You see a cool concept, you don't really have a direction or anywhere it's going, but you're like, I want to make it, so you make it. That in itself is awesome. Like, people creating things off of ideas of other people, building on them, doing something in their own light. You see something you like, but you see it through the eyes of someone else. It's always cool to see that. But if there's no point in this really industrial is not the right word, this really corporate entertainment community, what are you doing? What's the end game? Like, it's...
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the next set of topics. And people, that is trailers. Because you know how Trae do. Trae loves himself some movies. We've talked about movies twice.
Couldn't stop him.
He couldn't. He sat me down to a chair, strapped me down, almost gave me the Ludovico treatment, if you watch Clockwork Orange. And I was like, no, we're putting trailers. Because there's some really interesting trailers out. I I had like 2 more, but I was like, okay. He said stop at 3, and I was like, okay, I will. I'll stop at 3 trailers. So the first
Picked
trailer,
a good 3 though. You picked a
think
good
so?
3.
Okay, good,
did,
good.
yeah.
I'm glad.
Picked a good
that you're with it, because the first one that we're gonna watch, or that you're gonna listen to, go watch them. They're everywhere, But we're gonna let you listen to the trailer for Hellboy, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna give our thoughts.
On an island off the coast of Scotland, something was summoned from the depths of hell. Something that would end mankind.
And this thing you worried about, did it show up?
Oh, yes. You did.
We face every threat there is, and yet you take me in. Hello, son. Made me a weapon.
Where's my violin?
Listen up, ladies and gentlemen. Out there's a 5th century sorceress who wants to bring down the curtain on London and the world.
Great. Homework.
Why do you fight for those who hate and fear you? You were meant for this. Out of the ashes, new Eden will emerge.
Okay, I'd appreciate a prophecy with more relatable stakes.
Haven't we got to be saving the world or something?
Yeah, okay, come on. Let's get your game face on. Yeah, come on, let's do this.
Be my king. We belong together, you and I.
We do, but this is not gonna work, because I'm a Capricorn and you're not!
All right, so that is Hellboy coming out in April 2019, and I gotta say, this trailer, ooh wee, boy, ooh. So Hellboy isn't a comic book that I have enamored myself with. Couldn't talk, but I've seen the films and I've seen sort of the animated movies, and I want to get into the comic books, and it's interesting. It is an interesting concept. You have this demon who was summoned for, nefarious purposes, and gets turned around and used to, well, I guess, as they say in the first movie, fight the things that bump in the dark. So what do you think, Kyle?
Nah. This is Hellboy. The first one was awesome. Ron Perlman's Hellboy. I don't know why they're rebooting it. It's not that old. No desire to see it. Any movie that uses a semi-metal version of Smoke on the Water in their trailer should be shot. It's where I'm at. I hate everything about it. I think it's dumb. I think it's unnecessary. If you want to watch Hellboy, guess what? It came out not that long ago. They still hold up. Just go watch them.
It's not where I thought this was going. You bamboozled me. Thank you for that.
I did bamboozle you. It's just, I don't get it. It's these stupid people are making reboots of movies that aren't old.
That is
What
is
are we
fair.
doing?
That is
What
fair.
are we doing?
Well, in some cases, I mean, that was different. So I was thinking back to, again, I'm just gonna keep, going back to other shit. But thinking back to Sony and Spider-Man. Why, because we had like the Raimi films, and then we had Andrew Garfield and Mark Webb, with that reboot series. Before we had this new series, and why they did that was to keep, the rights to Spider-Man. Pretty much the whole reason why we had the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man was because Marvel was trying to get the rights back to Spider-Man. and they were like, nah, we still doing stuff. We still got it. We got it. With Mark Webb, come make this movie real quick, you know. But I don't think that's the same case with I don't even know who is doing Lionsgate. I don't think Lionsgate has that same problem because I don't think anybody's trying to fight for the Hellboy rights. I think,
especially considering that movie came out. I keep saying not that long ago. You vamp for me a second. I'm gonna look it up real quick.
All right. Well, why are you talking about that? Because I really, I mean, I like that they're because I kind of figured like how there's Full Metal Alchemist, which is a really good series in its own right. But then there's Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which kind of follows close to the manga. I think what they're doing here is they're trying to make a film that follows more closely to the comics, because the first Hellboy movie kind of took liberties with that. You know,
came out in 2004.
2004.
So I guess 15 years, but 15 years is still not long enough to do a reboot, in my opinion.
I agree with you wholeheartedly that this isn't long enough for a reboot. But if they want to do it, and the whole thing in the marketing about this is that it's gorier, it's it's darker, but it doesn't lose that funny that Hellboy has. I like it. I like what they're doing here, and if they can follow more closely to the comic book storyline, I think that'll be to his favor. Plus, you have this young guy, David Harbour, who people know from Stranger Things. Again, it's a case of people that you can get for franchises. So, whereas who was it that was Hellboy before? Ron Perlman, who I'm pretty sure they wouldn't. I mean, they made a sequel with him, but maybe coming back for another one, he probably wouldn't want to do. I don't know if he wanted to do Hellboy 3 or not. But David Harbour might be more inclined to do, 4 or 5 Hellboy movies because, his career isn't, other than Stranger Things, we don't really see him in a lot of places. This could be that jumping off point for him, I
mean, it's fair. I don't know. I like the first Hellboy. Hellboy Golden Army is not great. Hellboy is a really cool property, but it's just not. It's not for me.
Yeah, I like it. I like this. I like this trailer so much more better than the first trailer. The first trailer I was kind of lukewarm on. I was like, okay, this is cool, but this one, again, Smoke on the Water. This different version of Smoke on the Water. It does right by this trailer. The visual effects look dope, which I think they look better than. Well, I don't think they look better because Guillermo del Toro did the first movie, and that man on point with like creature design and practical effects and things of that nature. So
I agree.
You kind of can't beat Guillermo when he's on something.
No, when he's hot, he's hot. He's like Tarantino on that level. Like he can make some flops, but when he's on, he's on.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I get it. I see the appeal. Hellboy's cool. I'm on it. Just watch the other one. There's one that's out that holds up and is still good. Like, Ron Perlman is a great Hellboy. And I'm not saying I want him back if they were to reboot it, but I do say wait another 10 years and then to start over. Because the fact that I can recall information from that first movie means they still play it on TNT like every other Saturday. Like
that I did not know.
Chill.
Okay, one more thing. There is a thing of, wait, but then is there waiting too long? Because then you won't fall into the problem of like, what was that Dumb and Dumber movie that came out, Like,
yeah, but it's one thing to wait too long to make a sequel. It's another thing, a reboot's an entirely different concept. You're not continuing a story, you're restarting a story.
Right.
It doesn't matter when you do that.
That's fair.
Because you're starting over. So it's, I don't know. This one, go check it out if you like it. It's going to be cool. I mean, as you say, special effects look on point. Story looks on point. I have nothing against the execution of this idea.
Right.
I'm just not here for it.
Also, I'm kind of, all right, this is my 2 cents, but I'm tired of Mia Jovovich in things. That's all I'm just saying. I am. I'm sorry. I am.
That's the weirdest vendetta to have against like an actress that's not really doing all that much.
What do you mean? She's in this. She's in the Monster Hunter movie that's coming out. And yes, there is a Monster Hunter movie. Oh, guess
maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. She's just not being in things.
Well, guess who's directing the Monster Hunter movie? Paul W.S. Anderson.
No,
okay, no. You would be so lucky. You would be so lucky.
I want to see these monsters looking gross.
They would be
That would be
awesome. Hey, Jinx, you owe me a soda. But no,
Oh,
Paul
man.
W.S. Anderson, who did the Resident Evil movies, is doing the Monster Hunter. Yeah.
Those stories don't. That doesn't.
People, I'm watching Kyle's brain just go like, nah. Just put a hat on and walk out the door. It's like,
I
nah.
mean, it's not fair to look at a director and be like, you made this movie, so all your other movies are going to follow the strain of that movie. But at the same time, those two properties are so far apart from each other that it's hard for me to wrap my head around. But that's fine. That's fine. I mean, that's fine.
I just want to put up a picture with that little dog in the fire and just like, it's fine. It's all fine.
It's whatever. Go to the next trailer. Hellboy.
Next trailer
comes out in April. Check it out if you want to. If you don't, I'm not going to hold it against you because I'm not going to see it. So,
All right. So the next trailer that we got to talk about is Dark Phoenix. And again, we're going to let you listen to it. We're going to come back and talk about it.
Why did you make me do that?
Look at me. Focus on my voice. I'm not giving up on you, Jean.
She was my friend.
You're my family, Jean. Stop, no matter what.
Stop.
Look. You're special, Jean. And if you stop fighting that force inside you, if you embrace it, you will possess the very power of a god.
She'll kill us all. Tell me how we fix this, Charles. Tell me what to do. I don't know what to do.
And what they don't understand, what they fear, and what they fear, we seek to destroy.
This is your fault, Charles.
I tried to protect her.
I'm scared. When I lose control, bad things happen to people I love.
The girl dies.
She's still Jean. We can still help her.
Sometimes we want to believe people are something that they are not. By the time we realize who they are, it's too late.
She's coming.
I have been in such a weird love-hate relationship with this franchise that I honestly don't know how I feel about this Dark Phoenix movie trailer.
that's fair. Here's my thought on it. This is going to be great if it's the last one they do. If this is their culmination, Dark Phoenix is a super cool story.
Mm-hmm.
Sophie Turner is a great Jean Grey. They have a really strong cast right now with their younger heroes and all that. I know they kind of made it thought after Apocalypse that this was kind of like Apocalypse was their reboot and they were going to kind of go through after Days of Future Past and all that. If this is where X-Men just takes a nice long break, I'm in. Let's do it. But if this is another jumping off point, I'm not in it the same way as I would be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ooh boy, I tell you, man. I like what was going on, and this kind of like in the long running film series what we got going on here, especially after that break, like you said, with Days of Futures Past, where they kind of made it, a different sort of timeline of what's going on from the original trilogy, right? I did not like Apocalypse. Apocalypse was badly written. There were some interesting shots being used, but I mean, you had the character between Jean Grey, Sophie Turner, and the guy who played Scott, who is Ty Sheridan. Yeah, I think is his name. If I say your name wrong, Ty, we got poking on Tuesday. I'll talk to you about it then. But I didn't. I feel like it was rushed. I feel like because they knew, because we already know, Jean Grey and Scott Summers. It's just like, we don't need to. They're already in love. Fine, throw it in there. It's like throwing the character development in a bag and then tossing that bag off the bridge. But I like what's going on here. I'm worried about it. We've already done the Dark Phoenix story with X-Men: The Last Stand, and now we're just taking the writer of that, right, and making him the director of this. And you can see a lot of the similarities between those two. Like there's that whole neighborhood shot, which looks part and parcel from X-Men: The Last Stand, which makes me very worried about that. And to your point of this being the last film, I want them to go forward with this. I just because I like the X-Men. I always love their stories. I would want to see a continuing sort of character development go on with these characters because I know there's a lot there to work with. But then you have to think about, well, Fox sold the rights to Marvel. So is watching this movie kind of a moot point because we're going to get a new X-Men in the Marvel Cinematic Universe 2 years from now, And then there's... oh, no, go ahead.
That's a good way of looking at it. That's a good way of looking at it because at the same time, you're right. That's why I think if they do it right and they end it, Fox will go out on a high point with the X-Men franchise.
Which is more they could say than what they did with Fantastic Four. So, I definitely agree there.
And I think it's kind of cool. It's the same thing. Well, not the same thing, but it's the same strain as like Ryan Reynolds doing Green Lantern, seeing the community response, knowing it sucked, and redoing another superhero movie. This writer wrote a movie. That movie was not great. So they're giving them the position for redemption. Now, if they embrace it and they make a good movie, everything is good. Slate's clean. And I love that because you see more often than not that works in favor of a good film. Is you screwed up, but here, you can fix it. Do it. And if they do it, that's awesome. It becomes a passion project. They put more time and effort into it. They put more effort into it than they would in any other situation. And then it turns out to be a phenomenal film. They have a beautiful slate. They have a really nice story that they've cut. You're right. Apocalypse had issues, but at the same time, it was a solid enough jumping off point to do this. So let's see if they do it. If they do it well, it'll be great. That being said, with the last 4 X-Men movies, I will not be seeing it in theaters. I will wait until it comes out and I'll watch it at home. But that's fine. They're still okay.
I really like that you poise it as sort of an underdog story because, like you said, the last one, he wrote it, but he did not direct it. And the director usually has a lot more, pull. Like, okay, you give me the script, we're gonna make the shooting script, and some of these things might not even see the light of day. So since I'm looking here, this is directed by Simon Kinberg, who wrote The Last Stand. This is also produced by him and, a bunch of other people. And this is also written by him. So not only does he have the written, like he has the script, he also will probably work on the shooting script and has a lot more call of what's going in. So those scenes, and I'll take back what I said, because those scenes could be like, okay, this is what I wanted to do, but you guys weren't able to see.
Exactly. This is their vision. Let's see what their actual vision is. If it still sucks, well, then you're done. We gave you the chance. But if it's good, we'll be like, all right, the director fucked up Last Stand. It wasn't the writing. It wasn't that. It was something else. So this gives them the huge potential to do something really cool. That trailer looks solid. It looks, the scene with Magneto just standing there with all the guns around him.
Yes, Lord.
That's a cool scene. Like, that's just, you see fear in his face, which is awesome, seeing these all-powerful characters being like, yo, this is not great. I love seeing that. I love seeing the time where you see Eric, who's just a badass in all of these.
I don't know about that. Because remember in Apocalypse, they had him, like, they do this thing with supervillains who are usually the hero's main antagonists. They do this with Magneto in like 7 of these films. They do this with Megatron in the Transformers films, where they turn a really badass character into a pawn punk character, you know?
That's fair, but I'm talking just the show of power kind of thing. Like, the acting may be great, story's not great, but the shit that he did was really cool. So seeing someone, Professor X, being like, I don't know what to do. This shit is crazy. Like, I love that. I love seeing that. That's exactly how like Infinity War was. Yeah. With this all-powerful being really bringing out these emotions in these characters that to this point in time you've seen go through struggles, but for the most part are all powerful, are now looking at something that is actually all powerful. And I think that's a really fun story to tell.
Welcome to the We Love Infinity War podcast.
This Marvel's the gold standard. Everyone else is just trying to catch up. I'm not even going to sugarcoat that.
Right?
That's where it is.
Oh man. But yeah, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I hope what I really hope is for this to be a chance of, and they've only done it once, where that scene, and they've might have been twice, the scene with Quicksilver and how he moves when time is slowed down. I want more things like that where they're great cinematic uses of the X-Men's powers. I hope we get something like that out of this film. So I can't wait to actually see it.
In this trailer, it kind of bums me out, but at the same time, I love seeing it. It had almost the same exact feeling as Flash and Superman in Justice League, where you see Quicksilver running across these busted boards, and then you see Jean Grey just be like, "Oh, what you gonna do?" Like, I love seeing that because it's a funny moment. But it felt the exact, like I've seen that exact scene before. So that's kind of a bummer. But at the same time, we don't hold anything against Justice League. It's its own thing. We don't talk about it. It's where it is. That's fine. So
they digitally replaced the mustache. That's all I'm saying. I'm done. I'm putting the mic right there.
All I'm saying is Superman can reload his arms, and that's very important.
We're done. We're not talking about Justice League. We're gonna move on. X-Men, well, they're just calling it Dark Phoenix, or also known as X-Men Dark Phoenix, comes out June, which is another telling thing that they're taking away the X-Men title and just making it Dark Phoenix.
See, I think that's cool. I think they're setting it up to be just let's do it. This is our last run. Let's get it right, and that gives me hope.
I think
that's cool. That's cool.
It is. Coming out June 7th, 2019. If you're going there, see you in the theaters. We might talk about it afterwards. But the next trailer we got coming up is for that. It might be what some will call the first good video game movie, and that is Detective Pikachu.
So there I was. I woke up with a heavy case of amnesia in the middle of nowhere. The only clue to my past is Harry's name and address inside this hat. So I made my way to the apartment. And that's when I found you and your stapler gun.
Stop talking! You're a hallucination!
You're a hallucination.
So you're a talking Pikachu with no memories who's addicted to caffeine.
I could stop whenever I want. These are just choices. Another round, extra shot, black as night. Thank you, sweetie. I don't know. Maybe Harry got in too deep. Mixed up the wrong crowd, that kind of thing. Look, you can talk to humans. I can talk to Pokemon. And if you want to find your pops, we're gonna need each other.
No, I don't need a Pokemon.
What about a world-class detective? My clues!
What is all this?
Harry is still alive. Case closed, but still open until I solve it. All right, here it is. Harry faked his own death. Or somebody else faked Harry's death. Or Harry faked somebody else's death. That last one doesn't work at all. Now, obviously, I've dealt with this putz before, so I'll just do it again.
Hey, bud, what are you doing?
I can't do it when people are watching. Get me the hell out of here!
twist. That's very twisty.
Get him! He's barely moving.
Don't tell him that.
Oh, he's on a bike. Quick, get in front of him. Stop.
Oh, no. He's going down hard, Tim. Should have worn a helmet.
I can't stop laughing when I watch the trailer. I love this trailer. Kyle, tell me your thoughts. Give me your brain.
This summer, Ryan Reynolds reprises his role as Deadpool in Detective Pikachu.
Yeah.
That's Ryan Reynolds. He's a beautiful man. I love him. I love everything he does. I didn't know. I am not as weeby as some of my friends. I did not know anything about Detective Pikachu. I had no desire to see Detective Pikachu. I will now be seeing Detective Pikachu. And that is crazy. It's so rare that a trailer actually does that to me. But something about this just looks so stupid, yet so incredibly fun that I'm in. Like, I'm excited. It'll be fun.
Kyle.
The Mewtwo looks like crap, though.
Really?
Yeah, it looks like trash. The Mewtwo's butts.
Man, the Mewtwo's so childish. The Mewtwo's butts. I actually think it looks good. Like that's the one thing that's got me like really excited about this is all the Pokemon designs, like how they look or how they would look sort of in like
so
real life.
Gross.
It is. These are gross animals. Like, come on, man.
I was like, why did we choose a Lickitung? Like, we could have just left that alone. Like, no one actually needed to see that, but they're gonna do it. I don't know. Ryan Reynolds is just this is a tangent on him for a quick second.
Okay.
But like in my personal life, I sell liquor. It's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Reynolds has he's the owner of a gin company called Aviation Gin. I saw a piece of marketing that said Aviation Gin is the best gin on the planet. Ryan Reynolds, gin/planetary expert. Just the everyday shit he does, I find so funny.
He is
that is the only reason I will go see this movie. I'm not even gonna I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say, oh, it looks fun, this, that, and the other. It's him. He has drawn me to go see this movie.
Just to continue off this tangent, he is the most amazing human being on the earth. Love him, spirit animal. And people are gonna say there's a lot. I've heard or read a lot of people's thoughts about this movie. And like you just said in the beginning, reprising Deadpool and Detective Pikachu. Like, you got to think about this man's career so far. Like you said before, like when we're talking about the other movie, and yes, this is the We Love Ryan Reynolds podcast. But he was Green Lantern, right? Movie that flopped, did terrible. And that's not his only flop and terrible movie that's happened. Like Rest in Peace Department, the movie where he switched bodies with Ben Kingsley. I can't even remember what it's even called right now.
It's taken him a long time to really break out of that college humor / rom-com world that he started his career in.
Mm-hmm. It has, but he's been trying so hard, and now he's found something that has worked, and that's just be Ryan Reynolds, I guess. I don't know, because you have
he's not acting; he's just being himself, his brain. So we're gonna keep going on this nonsense, but there is
take lightly. Every second of my energy is spent making this character come alive with the same exacting standards that the most discerning fans would have come to expect. Now, as many of you know, I vanish into my roles. This is a funny anecdote. I was on my way to pick up my daughters from school when I heard that I got the role. Well, I didn't show up at school because Detective Pikachu, he doesn't know who those two little girls are. Who are they?
They're our daughters. He just left them.
He doesn't have a wife. No. He's a little yellow guy. Lives in Rhyme City in a briar patch or something.
Like, it is the funniest. He's so good at marketing what he does that I'm not even really talking about the trailer. The trailer itself, the effects actually look really cool, look way better than they should. Story looks pretty funny. It looks like it's gonna be a good time. But I'm gonna go see this stupid movie because of the main voice actor.
You're not the only one.
That's really it.
And you're not the only one because Ryan Reynolds right now is such a pull with doing two great Deadpool movies. And just like you said, being such himself in every marketing, everywhere. Like, why would you not go see this just for Ryan Reynolds? I think that was probably the best move. That not only what is the movie company that's releasing this, Legendary Pictures again, Legendary, but Pokemon, like Nintendo itself, making, because there was a time when I think who was going to be, there was a rumor that was it Danny DeVito was going to be the voice of Detective Pikachu, right?
I don't know. That would have been pretty funny too. But it would have been funny for a different reason.
Exactly.
Like that movie would have had no potential to actually be good, but I still would have gone and saw it.
Like, okay,
Danny
so
DeVito.
the weeb in me is like, yes, I want to see this for Pokemon. Like, I'm not the biggest Pokemon fan. I've been very stale on Pokemon for the past few years because, you know, the story of the anime is the same as it was in the beginning. So this to me is like refreshing to see as a, you know, outsider fan of Pokemon. Like, this is refreshing, you know, and from like a filmmaker standpoint, like just seeing these visuals, you know, seeing how Charizard looks, it's all combined with that. Yeah, I'm gonna be there day one, you know, I'll be there day one clapping in the front seats like, yes, baby. I'm gonna be like that supportive grandma at church. Yes, baby, you finally made it, you know. I think all of these things combined are gonna make this a top sell. I think this might be for some people, like it might be the movie of the year, you know. I'm making predictions right now.
I'm super intrigued to see a couple months after it comes out its worldwide box office versus how much it makes in the US.
Mm-hmm.
Because we already know this movie is going to be a success.
Right.
Like there's no doubt foreign markets, Japan in particular,
Mm-hmm.
The movie is going to cover its budget. I'm so interested to see what percentage comes from the US though.
Domestic. Yeah. Yep. The show that comes out right around this time, market people, we might actually, you know, try to keep up with this to see how it does. Because I'm interested. I'm also interested, like, to see what's coming out around it. Because, you know, it's always that fight that weekend for who's going to come out on top. I can't wait to see who has to go up against Detective Pikachu. You know?
And it could be, watch it be like some real good movie, but a serious film. And it gets trounced in the box office by like, that's... Everything about this movie is so dumb, and it has the potential to just make every story about it so dumb. But I'm so excited to see all of them.
Exactly.
Like, it's I don't know. Is Detective Pikachu actually a game? Like, is that a game first that came out, or is it like a comic, or what?
Again, this is another question that we need Chris for, because I don't know.
What
know.
In the actual F is Detective Pikachu?
like, yeah, I have no.
I probably could have done that research prior by myself.
I could have also done that research. I didn't know that was a question you was going to ask. I didn't know.
I'm just curious. Like, where did this property come from? What? Well, I know where it came from. It came from Japan, and those people they do what they do. It's fine. We love them anyway. But like, what is Detective Pikachu?
Oh, it is based off a video game. There is a video game called Detective Pikachu. So Legendaries was in negotiations for live action rights to Pokemon, and apparently they decided the first film would be Detective Pikachu. Like, it's very strange. But yeah, there is a Detective Pikachu video game for the 3DS. So yeah.
You know what? That actually makes sense to do Detective Pikachu first, because the storytelling of a Detective Pikachu is actually probably easier than making a Pokemon story from scratch. Because it's a mystery movie. At its core, it's a mystery movie. Mystery movies, mystery books are pretty easy to write.
Wow. From what I'm reading here, it seems to be following the story pretty much. I want to actually close that so I don't spoil anything for myself, but it follows the story. The trailer at least shows that it seems to be following the story pretty closely. So yeah, I get you right. I would myself think it would be easier, because the Pokemon games is kind of, at least the beginning ones are kind of like, they're so light on plot. It's pretty simple. You 10-year-old,
yeah, you can't make
go get a
movie
Pokemon
light on plot like that.
Well,
though.
I mean, but you can,
like,
you can do
drop
anything
a
with
10-year-old
it.
and a bunch of CGI animals out in the world. This isn't Jungle Book, Trae. This is Pokemon. So, like,
don't do this. Well, I'm saying, because it's light on plot, I feel like you can make your own story and, you know, take off with it. You have more creative liberties with that. Whereas this one has a
but
pretty tight plot.
When you're dropping a property for the first time, wouldn't it be safer to follow a story instead of spending money to create your own?
And that's why you're the finance person, because you think from the studio point, and that makes sense. That makes sense. I think
I don't need to hire a bunch of writers that can think. I need to hire a bunch of writers that can follow a plot and turn it into a script. It's
all right. Here's your first thing. Here's these 3DSs. Gets the plan.
Let us know. But like, it's Pokemon is a really cool franchise. It's a very old franchise. Much as I hate to say it, it's a prestigious franchise.
It is. It's a console seller, at least for those mobile consoles. So
yeah. This is I don't know. We'll see what happens, but this could open the door to a lot of Pokemon movies, which I didn't think is a thing. Well, there's a new Pokemon animated movie coming out.
There is. I think it
Mewtwo Returns.
Yeah.
Mewtwo Strikes Back, Jedi. It's gonna be great.
But there's always been those Pokemon anime movies, though. Like Pokemon's had that for the longest time.
Yeah, I saw Pokemon 2000 in theaters.
Did you?
Yeah, I was 11.
Oh,
I'm trying to think. It came out in 2000. It's 2019. 19. I was 7.
Oh.
Yeah, so there you go. That's the last time I saw a Pokemon movie in theaters. So let's see what's up.
I can't even think of the last time I saw a Pokemon movie. But Pokemon Detective Pikachu releasing May 10th, 2019. And folks, that's it. That's our show. We've had fun today. We've talked about a lot of things. Please let us know in the talkbacks, the comments, wherever you looking at this, because we everywhere. All right, this time for the plugs. Kyle, where can the people find your greatness?
My greatness?
Your greatness.
My greatness on Twitch TV.com/Timewasters. You can find me on Facebook. Don't look for my personal Facebook. I don't use it. But Timewasters Facebook. There's we're on Twitch, like I said. We're on Twitter, like I said. This beautiful podcast you can find on YouTube.
Yes, you can.
Timewasters. You can find it on Facebook. Timewasters.
Yes, you can.
You can find it on iTunes. I don't know what it's under on iTunes. I haven't used iTunes in a long time, but I'm assuming Timewasters. That makes sense. It's a real good plan. Do us a favor. Reach out to us on everyone has social media. Reach out. Let us know where you listen to this from. That's just something that intrigues me. We're putting this on 4 different platforms?
About 3. I'll say 3.
3? All right, let us know where you listen to it. Let us know if you like it. We see that people listen to it. So where you at? Plug a comment, be like, hey, I'm here. And if you do that on YouTube, well, then we know you watched it on YouTube, and that's cool. Watch our other show on YouTube too while you're there. Appreciate it. Love you.
There you go. Make sure, if you want to follow me, you can do the same thing. Everywhere that Kyle says, I'll be there too, because I am there. Got to make sure he does right, so I got to keep my man in check. You want to see my films? Hey, check out a Production 1200 on YouTube. Make sure you check us out on the Facey Books as well. You can talk about that stuff there, and that's it for the show. Yo, say goodbye, Kyle.
Bye, everybody.
And from Tracy Price, I love your faces. Goodbye.
Ew.
Want to see something strange and mystical?
No! Get out of here with that watch! Lay off the poor beavers, will you? Jeez! You're a creep! Go away! We're having a good time until you showed up, jeepers!